This is Groove Talk with Froggy Style.
Welcome to another episode of Groove Talk, everybody. On this episode, I am joined by Mitch Belot.
Hello.
Hello.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, of course. Thanks for being on the show.
It was my absolute pleasure.
Yeah. So I guess just to start us off, why don't you kind of introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about the Mitch Belot Band.
Sure. Yeah, totally. I'd love to. So I've been playing music professionally in Calgary since I was about 18. I'm almost 28 now, so for about 10 years, doing the quick math there. And I've released 3 records, 2 of which are on iTunes and Spotify and all that stuff. Music was my full-time job before COVID hit and before all this craziness went down. But my fiance and I, we do a lot of duo stuff, but then we also have a big, with her in the band now, we have 5-piece. So that's fun. So when we get the whole band going, we're a big kind of party band. And then when I'm solo or playing duo with my fiance, I got the kick drum going and all that stuff. But maybe just a little insight on the type of music we play. We play kind of a blues rock style. We get compared to like the Black Keys and kind of like Kaleo kind of vibes. But yeah, music is my dream and my deal. And yeah, I love it.
Awesome. So have you always been kind of like a musical person, like from a young age? Is that something that you kind of always aspired to be, I guess, as a professional musician? Or
I'd say so, something like that at least. Like I've always aspired to be a performer.
Okay.
So I was in like, I was in like drama programs growing up, and I was a musical theater program in high school. So I actually didn't really start singing for real until high school. But then high school is kind of when I started getting into the actual singing side of things. But yeah, performing has always been my deal, and doing improv and all that stuff. So, and then when music came out, it was like when I started doing music, I found out that's totally what I want to do. I felt the most comfortable doing that and most happy doing that. So yeah, music became the number one.
Okay. And I guess what is it about music above like all those other things that like kind of attracted you to it?
Yeah, I think like I don't know. I guess it'd be like when it comes to acting and stuff, it's like I'm comfortable in front of a crowd and stuff like that, but for some reason with music, I liked that it wasn't just someone talking in front of you or being a different character. It's like here you're combining a bunch of different things. You're combining instruments and voices and all this stuff. And I love the way music makes you feel. And I think like you can be happy watching a comedy, but like music really makes you feel stuff.
Yeah.
And whether it's like you can really relate with it, whereas like a movie you can do that, or like a TV show or whatever, or a stage show or whatever. But music to me just spoke to me the loudest, where it was so rewarding to make people happy, and it also made me feel the best as well. Yeah.
Cool. And so do you play guitar, right? Like
I do.
Yeah. So have you always played guitar? Or is that something that you kind of picked up once you kind of like got into the singing and performing aspect of it?
Yeah, like I've always kind of sang, but guitar I picked up when I was about 15. My mom got me a guitar for Christmas, and she thought it would sit in the closet forever, and luckily that didn't happen. So, but yeah, guitar, like I like playing guitar and I like singing, but the combination of the two, like playing an instrument and singing with it, is the best. Like that's really what I get out of it. Like I would say, like I wouldn't. Like I say, I'm pretty good. I'm a really good rhythm guitar player. Let's say that. Where my solo chops are not up to some. I could definitely be worked on. But yeah, I love performing with the guitar, and singing is the best for sure.
Okay, so you not only perform solo, but you have the band as well. Mm-hmm. So I guess what made you decide to make that jump, I guess, from a solo performer to having the full backing band?
Totally. Well, I guess little story. I was doing a lot of solo stuff, and then I got this gig opening up for an act in town at the Jubilee, and I was like, okay, solo on there would be cool, but it would be nice to have a little bit of accompaniment with me, make it sound a little bit more full. And I had just released a record at the time, or just recorded a record, and on the record, a lot of the music had a little bit of extra guitar. Like, it wasn't a full band on the record by any means. I played a lot of the instruments myself, but there were a couple parts that had some guitar and some backing vocals and stuff. And I said, okay, it might be nice to find somebody. And so I met a gentleman named Vincent Bundick. He's a musician in Calgary as well. He's got his own band called Vincelin too. But we met at an open mic, and then we became quick friends. And I asked him to practice with me. And I had to play solo anyway for this thing because they asked me to. So, but then we kept it going, and like, let's just keep practicing together and see what happens. And I really liked finally bouncing ideas off of somebody. That was really nice. And then he introduced me to our drummer, Dylan Goodman, who knew him through high school and stuff like that. And so all of a sudden there was three of us. We actually played three of us for a long time. And then Dylan's brother was our bass player for a long time. So it kind of really worked out really naturally, which was really nice, just kind of on its own. And then, if you're engaged to someone who has a beautiful singing voice, why not put them in your band, right? So,
yeah, yeah, nice, awesome. So, do you prefer one over the other?
You mean like solo or band?
Yeah.
That's a good question. I'm gonna do the boring answer and say that I like both for different reasons. I know that's the worst answer I could possibly give to that question.
Honestly, that's kind of the answer I expected. So.
Oh, okay. Good. Yeah, because I've played, like, one of my favorite things to do is, of course, when there's no COVID around, is house concerts. And house concerts, when it's just you and like 35, 50 people or however many people are at this thing, is so cool because you can like. People are really listening, and they really hear the storytelling in your music, and they hear every little note that you're hitting and every little lyric and all that. Whereas which is great, but then all of a sudden you go to like this really cool venue and have this big rockin' party show with the full band where you do a bunch of encores, maybe throw a cover song in there where everybody sings along, and they're really like big party vibes with the band like that is also really cool. But there's a time and a place for both. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, definitely agree. And I honestly, I found, like, from talking to so many musicians now throughout the city, the ones who are able to kind of like take it and make it a full-time career are the ones who are able to do both. They're able to do the solo act, but then they're also able to like bring that big band energy, right?
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
I think it just like opens up more opportunities for you as well,
Yeah, no, exactly. I think too, even if you play multiple instruments as well, where you can be in multiple projects and stuff like that, I think that really helps you. Because people, if someone needs a bass player or whatever, you can fill in, make some cash too, or be in multiple bands. That's fun.
Yeah, no, totally. So just, I guess, compounding off of that, are you in multiple bands, or is this like your solo, or is this your only project?
To be honest, like right now and right before COVID started, it was basically just this. But I had a good buddy. His name's Rob Legace. He had a band in town called Son of Ray for a lot of years. Fantastic folk musician. And then he actually got me started in the Calgary music industry, which was really nice of him. And we've stayed really good friends. But he's now moved to Ontario. But before he moved, I was playing drums in his band, which was awesome. That was super, super fun. So that was, and it was like, that was something new for me when I started playing with him. And I played with him for a couple of years, I guess. But it was a cool experience because I got to be, being the lead singer and like the person who runs the day-to-day stuff for the band. It was nice just to show up to the gig. It was super nice to just show up. Yeah, and so it's a cool experience. It's nice.
Yeah, no, I could totally imagine. It's like if I went onto somebody else's podcast, you know what I mean? Like
exactly, 100%. You just have to show up.
I just got to show up and I just got to talk. So
exactly, you know what I mean.
Yeah. So I guess, can you walk us through kind of how your songs come together then?
Totally. I was actually talking to somebody about this the other day, but I find I remember for years when I first started, I was trying to I listened to interviews and stuff with musicians trying to find out the way. It's like, are there a way that people write songs to make it easier on myself? Because I still don't think I've found the really good way of doing it. Because I think everybody's different when it comes to that. There's not one way to do it. You have to kind of find your own inspiration and all that stuff. But which seems obvious to me now, but it wasn't at the time. And but for me, I think I write in spurts, so I'll go months and months without writing a song, and then all of a sudden in a week I'll write 5 or 6 in a row, kind of deal. Just because I'm on I don't know, I can't explain. It just kind of happens. But when I do write, I always start with so for me, I always start with a chord progression or a guitar riff or something that inspires me musically. And then that's when I kind of get a feel for kind of what I want to write. And then I'll maybe the way that the music is starting to make me feel, I'll try to write about a topic or something like that. And then it kind of just sometimes I got to force it and try to maybe Google cool words to kind of try and rhyme with to see if I can kind of finish off lines or something like that. Or sometimes you get that magic thing that a lot of musicians talk about where all of a sudden you write a song in 3 minutes and it's the best one you've ever written, just kind of shows up. But yeah, I always start with guitar and then lyrics kind of come and I try to play with some stuff and I sing it over and over and over until it kind of comes out. I'm not a big poetry guy. I don't look at my music as poetry or anything like that, but it's an overall feel. I go for feel over lyrics usually. I try to anyway.
Okay, cool. I mean, that's something that I can kind of relate to, and I super appreciate, because
yeah,
I've always said that when I'm listening to music, at least the lyrics themselves are probably one of the least important things for me personally.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, it's almost like the person singing is just adding, their voice just becomes an instrument for me at that point.
I look at it that way a lot too, actually. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And not to say, there are songs out there where the lyrical content, you hear it and it just clicks with you and it relates to you and you're like, that's awesome. But for the most part,
totally.
For the most part, I would just say, the voice is just another instrument, and it's awesome that it is an element that can be blended into the music as well.
Totally. I completely agree. Yeah, that's a way I look at it a lot as well.
Yeah. So when you are writing songs, are you writing all the parts for the song, or is it just kind of are you focusing on your part and then bringing it to other musicians?
Yeah, no, that's a good question as well. I mean, it also depends on the song, kind of how you want the vibe to go. But what's nice about when I was getting into the whole band stuff, when all of us guys and now my fiance Justine was hanging out with us, it's nice to bounce ideas off of other people, which really is nice. When I was first starting out, or I have songs that I wrote completely on my own, and it's mostly just guitar. And then I like that, for my first record, I went in the studio and just kind of built off of the guitar and kick drum and singing parts of the song. Those were the bones, then you could build off of it. But yeah, I think now with the band around, it's been nice to write a song just acoustically on guitar and then bring it to the band and then build off of that. And add instruments, and then you could totally change the song for the better too, which is nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, for sure. There's always something to be said about collaboration, for sure.
Oh yeah, I find how musicians always do those collabs where they'll write with one other musician and try to write a song in a day kind of deal. I've never been good at those.
Yeah,
that's hard for me for some reason, and I don't know exactly why that is, but I almost think it might just be the way that I write or something like that. It's not that I'm selfish with what I have, but it's almost forcing it. I'm not sure. But once you have a full idea, I find it easy to bring it to somebody else, and so somebody can just totally add on instead of trying to find an idea together. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, totally. And I don't know. I can relate to that in a way, because I find the creative process, coming up with ideas, is very kind of, I don't know. For me personally, at least, it's a lot of just kind of fiddling around until you kind of fall into something that's awesome. And that can be very tedious and boring. And I really enjoy doing that by myself.
Yeah.
And yeah, I agree that like once I have that idea and once I have a little bit more of like a concrete kind of like sound, I guess, then I will take it to like another person and be like, okay, what do you think of this? You know?
Exactly. Yeah, no, I'm very similar. Yeah, that's funny. I don't know if it's because I'm nervous or something. I don't know. I don't think so, but I think it's just I'd rather come with a full idea, and it's just the way my brain works. I'm not sure.
Yeah, no, I get it. I get it.
Yeah.
So the last record that the most recent record that you released, it's just over a year ago now since you last released it.
Yeah.
I mean, can you walk us a little bit through how that record came together?
Sure. It was a long time coming because I released a record in 2013 and then 2015, and then it wasn't until 2020 that we released All for Nothing, the most recent one. And so a lot of those songs, which was interesting, like that are on this newest record, we've been playing for a long time because we wrote them, years in advance. And then I told the guys, and this is before even Justine moved she's from Ontario, and before she moved here, but I just said, like, we have to get into a studio and just record because we were always worried about money and not having enough money to do it. And it's like, well, we don't have to make the record all at once. Like, you don't have to record, then immediately you mix them and then immediately master. So it was June 2018, I believe. I think so. June 20. Sorry, Justine's in the other room. She goes, yes. So it was June 2018 that we went in the studio, finally at OCL down in Chestermere there. And we were like, okay, we've been playing these songs for a while anyways. So Josh Gwilliam, who is our engineer on the whole and / producer on the record, he suggested, why don't you guys, we'll just set you up all at the same time and you guys just play them like you play live. Because we had them so down that it didn't matter, it's kind of like, let's just play them live, and get the good take and then move on with it. So that's what we did. So we spent one day, we went in the studio for one day, just paid for the whole day, like 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. kind of deal. And went in there and recorded all 8 songs. And it was super fun, and we all had a really good time. And then we sat on it for a little while and just like saved up some more money. We actually ended up doing a GoFundMe just because we couldn't find the money together to mix the tunes. So we actually did a GoFundMe, which was, we were hesitant at first, but it was really, really successful. We made our goal, and our friends and family and fans were all, were really supportive. And so we ended up mixing and mastering the record at that point, and then decided to do the January 2020. And our plan was to go on tour after that in the summer of 2020, but then the whole world came crashing down, so that ruined that. But but yeah, it was a long time coming, and I'm glad it's out in the world at least.
Yeah, for sure. Like it came out, just before, the world kind of came to a halt, I guess.
Oh yeah,
which is
seriously,
good because
screeching.
Yeah, I mean, I know musicians who, they had albums ready, for summer of last year, and they wanted to release them, and they're still sitting on them because they don't want to release it without playing a release show, and properly releasing it. So
totally,
it's kind of hard to do right now.
Yeah, exactly. I heard a suggestion from some friends, from musician friends, that everyone should just be releasing singles right now, like just because singles you don't usually do a release party for anyway. Yeah, and just release a single like once every 4 months or something. Yeah, 3 or 4 months, which is it's an idea anyway. I'm not saying that's a key to success or anything, but
yeah, I know bands that are doing that too. There's some that they're doing a single a month or a single every couple months or whatever, and with the way that the way that we consume music now, right? It's a lot of streaming services and stuff like that. And, if you're releasing a single every couple of months, it keeps that hype up and it keeps you high on the streaming sites and stuff like that. And
yeah, totally.
But I mean, there's always something about an album that I truly appreciate, like a good collection of music that I personally very much appreciate. So
yeah, totally.
Yeah,
I'm with you on that for sure. Like wasn't it the Foo Fighters that just released the like Medicine at Midnight record, like their most recent record, and they were sitting on. They're doing the same thing. They were going to release it, and they're like, screw it, we're just going to release it into the world anyway.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, okay.
Yeah, they're the Foo Fighters, so like you could release an album tomorrow and not tell anybody, and it's still going to be huge, right?
True. That's probably a bad example in regards to local music. I totally get it, but yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So you mentioned that you had just played a live gig a couple of days ago, and that was for Fatigue Fest, wasn't it?
Sure was.
Yeah. So I guess just how was that? How did that whole show come together, and what was it like playing that show in like these times, I guess?
Sure. Yeah. No. It was in. I still got to play in the. I still had to play in the glass bubble. I played at the Blues Can down in Inglewood there. And the guys at Stagehand are doing a really, really great job at getting cool events to happen here in town, and they're doing a fantastic job at creating these events themselves, and then connecting musicians to the organizers and stuff. And so that's how I got the gig through the Stagehand guys. I think it was Fatigue Fest was their festival, or it's through Chinook Blast, or no, Chinook Blast. Am I getting it wrong? I'm not sure. I think it's Chinook Blast. I think. Yes, I believe so. If I'm getting it wrong, I apologize to anybody who listens and then says I got it wrong. But Chinook Blast, which is the festival, they're supposed to be on 8th Avenue. Like you're supposed to be able to walk down 8th Avenue with a huge crowd of people and do random stuff, which is really cool. But we couldn't do that with live music, obviously, so they put together Fatigue Fest. But long story short, it was a little weird still. Like I still haven't gotten used to playing in the plexiglass box yet. Even like in the Blues Can. And the last time I played at the Blues Can was the last time the Junos were in Calgary. So it's been a long time. And so to play in there when there was nobody in there, because the night we played there, it was packed. And to play with nobody in there in the middle of the afternoon, to a phone is still, I don't think I'll ever get used to it. It's still a little bit weird, but I'm still, what makes me happy to play those gigs is that I know there's people on the other end of the phone or people who will watch it later and they'll get enjoyment out of it sitting at home just like I am. So I'm getting enjoyment watching the other musicians play. But yeah, it went really well. It was fun. I just went by myself and for, safety reasons and just, played some guitar and it was nice. Nice. My voice was screaming at me like you haven't done this in a while, man. What's going on? Yeah. So it was a little bit hoarse after, but it was fun. It was good. I really enjoyed it. I always enjoy it. Yeah,
for sure. I guess have you with the whole pandemic going on and, live streaming becoming more of a thing and stuff like that, have you been kind of taking advantage of that in any other ways or?
Yeah, we've tried a little bit. When COVID was still pretty new, we were doing a lot of live streams. Just because a lot of people were trying to get on that train. We also did the curbside concert deal in the summer, which will probably come back when the weather gets nicer. Which was great because I would borrow my dad's truck. We'd play in the truck bed in front of people's houses, which was great. And then Justine and I, we actually were doing this show on YouTube for a little while called Tunes Tuesday. And so we were doing either a cover song or an original song once a week. So we were doing that, and it allowed us to start kind of a little bit of a YouTube presence. And I think we might get that going again here pretty soon. We're supposed to take a month break, and now it's been a 4-month break. And I think we just got busy doing other stuff. But yeah, no, I think that's one of the silver linings about this whole thing is it's been really nice to see what people have done to compensate. Find other ways, be creative and find other ways to still get your art out there and still make people happy and still perform. And I think that some of the things will stay. Like, I think, if a band wants to perform a concert for someone, there's the technology now to just do like a really good concert for somebody I think people see the value in it more than they did before. And nothing will beat a live show. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. I think everybody will agree with that. And I missed out on a bunch of live shows because of COVID and as well as everybody else. But I think it's definitely a medium that can be used more, even after COVID, hopefully sooner rather than later ends and we can get back to live music. But yeah, I think it's really cool to see what people have done.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think everybody, when COVID first started and stuff like that, it was kind of like, I don't know, me personally, personally, I kind of sat back a little bit. I was like, okay, like, what am I going to do? Like, because normally I would have people over at my house or I would go to people's house to do the podcast, right?
Totally.
So I was like, okay, I'll sit back. We'll see how long this whole thing lasts. And then, I think it's lasted a little bit, maybe longer than anybody expected it to. So it's like now we're adapting and we're getting creative with the ways that we can, like you said, put our art out there. But like for me personally, like one of the things that has come out of this that I plan on continuing forward with the podcast is just doing what we're doing right now, offering the option to do it online. It's something that I've had to perfect and get good at, and I had no idea how to do it before COVID. So,
well, and now you got a new skill.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's awesome. You got to adapt, man. You have to.
Yeah.
And so it's good that people are doing that.
Yeah, and I agree with you too. It's cool to see the way that that people are still trying to get live music out there. Like I remember in the summer I went to a drive-in concert,
Yeah.
And
Totally.
It was cool, but it still just does not replicate that feeling of being in like a tiny room with like 50 other people who are all sweaty and jamming out to the music.
Totally. Yeah, I miss those days a lot. Being on the musician side and on the fan side.
Yeah, it's it's something that's like that crowd. Just it's the collective of being in that crowd with that many people all there for the same thing.
Totally. And we can actually feel the music. Like you can feel the sound wave. Like this sounds spiritual. It's not meant to, but like when the sound wave is like hitting your body, like that's awesome. That's the best part for me anyway.
Yeah, and just like the energy that the performer is giving you, and that energy is being returned to you as a performer from the crowd, and it's just like a feedback loop, right?
Oh, totally. Did you have any tickets that you had purchased that you had to miss out on? Or you had to get your money back because the show didn't happen?
No music tickets. Did have a couple of like activities planned in March that I had to reschedule. We had a snowboarding trip to Revelstoke planned that we had to cancel, obviously. Fun. Yeah, and also a snowshoe tour at Lake Louise that we had to reschedule. So,
geez, both would be awesome. Well, you'll still get to do that. It just unfortunately, you'll just have to wait.
We actually we did the snowshoe tour like a month ago. So
nice.
Yeah,
sweet.
It's pretty cool. So yeah,
that's awesome.
But no, luckily, no music events that I had to postpone and reschedule. And I know a lot of friends who kind of got stuck holding some tickets and stuff like that. So
yeah, it's too bad. I missed out on the Black Keys, which I've seen a couple times. So I mean, it's not the total end of the world, but it was their new record, and they're my favorite band, so that was a little unfortunate. But it is what it is.
Yeah. I think with this whole thing, before COVID, there'd be a show coming or whatever. And, if you wanted to see it, it's a band you like or whatever, you're like, maybe I'll go. But they'll be back. They'll always be back. But I think
exactly
after COVID, I think, if there's somebody that's coming that you like, go see them because you don't know if they're going to be back. You don't know what it's going to look like.
Totally. Yeah, you never, well, especially in today's day and age, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So, I mean, so you mentioned that your kind of fiance, joined the band and is doing stuff with you musically and stuff. So I guess how does that dynamic work? Is that strange at all, or?
I don't think it was ever strange, to be honest. But I think it was definitely a bit of a learning curve with we have a relationship and a successful relationship, and when you start working together, everyone warns you not to work with your significant other, right? Whereas for us, I think what helps is that we're really honest with each other and we take each other's feedback. So, if she has a suggestion for, even though I started the band and it was my project to begin with, I want her to feel like it's her project too. So, she's not afraid to say, to give me a suggestion. I can't think of an example right now, but, and then vice versa. So that's really nice. So yeah, I think because we were honest with each other and because I think we both enjoy it so much, I don't think there was ever, we got lucky, and it's been a really nice dynamic, and yeah, she's a very honest person, so it's nice to it's a breath of fresh air. That's not an insult, by the way. Yeah, but no, it's actually been really, really fun and rewarding. And it's nice to spend even more time. I mean, it's funny I say that now with COVID, when everyone's spending way too much time with each other if you live in the same house. But you know, especially before COVID, it was really nice to just do something we both love together, and then get paid for it, which is just a bonus. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, it's just like the reason I ask is like me and my significant other, we've been toying with the idea of, maybe starting a podcast together, and we've given it like a shot a couple of times, and it's like we haven't really figured out how to make it work yet. We've tried a couple episodes, and it's just like, I don't think that, but it's the same thing, we're both honest with each other, and we give each other feedback, and it's like, we know when it's not hitting, and like,
right.
So it's just kind of interesting to me, like, that you could have that dynamic in a professional way, but then you also have all those personal connections as well. So
yeah, I'm no expert by any means, but I think it might be different for everybody, and I also think that you could have a successful relationship and not be able to work together. I think that's also a thing. But like you don't have to do, you don't need to work together to have a successful relationship. But yeah, I think it might be different and for us, I think it's just honesty, and you're not insulting the other person just because you think something should be done a little bit differently, Oh
yeah, for sure. And I think that's just a good point to make in general, like when you're working with people, right? Is just because somebody has
totally
different ideas than you doesn't mean that you should take it personally or they're insulting you. They just have a different vision for the project.
Exactly. Well, and Justine works with her dad for her other job, and so I think she had some experience excuse me, had some experience working with family and stuff already, so yeah, I think that probably helped a little bit.
Yeah. So I guess going from a kind of solo act like that, and then adding members and band members, what was there ever like a learning curve or anything like that to taking feedback like that? Or
for sure, to be honest, it went way easier than expected. Like I thought it would be a lot harder to kind of jive with, especially because I had never met Dylan, our drummer, and Nick, our bass player, like before we actually started playing. Like I met them the day they came over to well, maybe that's not entirely true. I met Dylan when he came over for the first time to practice, like for the very first time, and then his brother had kind of come out to a couple shows, and we got to know him a little bit. But what's been really nice is that we're buddies. Number one, we get along really well, and our like we play well together as well, which is really lucky, I think, because you hear all these stories of bands getting so sick of it, and maybe who knows, if we actually went on a full tour together and stayed in the same van for months on end, stuff can happen, I guess. But for us, no. To be honest, there was never. I wouldn't even go as far as saying there was a learning curve, because I guess I was so excited to finally have some people say, finally get some feedback from people that were just as into music as I was. So there was never any fight. So if for both sides, so if something was offered and I liked it, great. If something was offered and I thought, hey, maybe we'll just not do that, I don't think that fits, there's no hard feelings. And like Vincent writes his own stuff. The guitar player Vincent writes his own stuff, but his stuff he writes very funky, very soulful stuff, which is fantastic. It just didn't really fit the vibe of the Mitch Belot Band, so we never really used any of his original stuff for that. And so it was always me writing the songs, but I'm really open to feedback and all that stuff. So to answer your question, I think we've been really lucky, and it was actually really, really seamless, the transition, and I think that's why it's nice to go back and forth, because it's not too much of a change for me anyways.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I think that, as creative people, when you're doing any kind of art, I think that you almost kind of seek out, that honest feedback, and it
Yeah,
can be really hard to get from people sometimes.
totally.
Like you have your fans, you have your family, you have your friends, and they're going to, comment on whatever you're doing. But it's like, most of the time it's like, oh yeah, you're doing a great job or whatever. And it's like,
Yeah,
but
your mom's
tell
always
me,
going to tell you you're the best. That's the
yeah,
thing.
exactly. But like, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but for me personally, sometimes I'm like, yeah, okay, like it's good, but like, could you tell me what's wrong with it, or could you like say something mean about it or something? Because like, I just wanna.
Totally.
Do you know what I mean?
100%. Actually, that's exactly why we work with Josh Gwilliam at OCL all the time. He's a fantastic person, number one, but also two, he's a very black and white person where he has no shame in telling you if something works or it doesn't. And he does it very straightforward. So he's not insulting. In fact, so if he listens to this, he's like, he should know that he's a fantastic human being. But he'll like, it's like, no, we got to do that again. It doesn't work. And there's no, and you don't feel bad about it at all because it's matter of fact. He's like, doesn't work. Let's do it again. And so that I love that. Like, that is fantastic. And I wish that happened more in life as well. Where people I'd almost rather people don't beat around the bush and just tell me. You don't have to be mean about it, but just tell me, be like, hey, I'd do it this way. Maybe try that. It's like, great. I'll take your suggestion. And then also don't get offended if I say, no, I like the way that it is. And that's what Josh would do too. Is like, if I really said, no, I really like it, he would be like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
So I totally agree with you. And I know exactly what you mean, that I wish it would happen more often, for sure.
Yeah. No, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the cool thing about like music and stuff too, right? Or any art, I guess, is that like everybody is going to interpret it differently or think that something's going to work better or whatever. But
100%.
That's I think why people go to shows. That's why people listen to music, is because it means something to them that maybe that musician wasn't even trying to say, but like they can interpret it in their own way.
Totally. Like, you see, how often do you see that where someone's like, oh, this song's totally about this. And then you hear an interview with like your favorite band or whatever, be like, no, it's about the last meal I ate before I wrote the song or whatever, like something completely unrelated. But no, that's what I love about music too, for sure.
Yeah. And I think, to kind of craft a really good piece of art or piece of music, you kind of have your message that you're trying to apply to the work, but you also leave it up for, you leave room for interpretation to the audience members.
Totally. Well, that's like the catchiest songs, right? Where you'll get, like, that's why all like the big pop artists all write songs that are vague, right? Like because they want them to connect to as many people as humanly possible. Have you seen any of Bo Burnham's stuff? The stand-up comedian Bo Burnham. He like plays piano and he sings some songs and stuff. Tall, lanky dude.
Yeah, I know who he is, and I have definitely heard some of his songs, but it was quite a while ago. Yeah,
he's been around a long time, but my whole point of bringing him up is that he has this one song where he talks about writing a pop love song, and he's singing about like I love how your eyes are that bluish, greenish, brownish hue, and like he's like, I love that your body has arms on both sides, and he's making fun of all those pop artists. But you listen to those songs, and that it totally is that, because people go, oh, that's me in the song, man. And then so you hope that happens with your music every now and then, but I try not. I'm definitely not writing for that purpose, but
yeah. I think it's just something that kind of happens.
Oh, totally. I think the best ones happen by accident, I think.
Yeah. Well, and it's the same way as somebody can be super convinced that the lyrics of a song are something, and then
Totally.
you look up the lyrics and it's, something completely different, but you've been singing it one way your entire life.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, just curious. I guess with having the band and stuff like that, do you guys all have similar kind of influences and stuff like that? Or I guess what, I know you kind of touched on your guitar player a little bit, that he plays kind of more funky, soulful stuff, but I guess what are some of the other influences in the band?
For sure. What's funny is that we're all very different when it came to our, like, especially when we first started playing. Our musical influences were all over the map. Like, so yeah, I was saying Vincent, he's very funky, soulful, like very, like like Prince is one of his favorite musicians, and like he, he's not that he only listens to Prince, he listens to a lot more stuff, but he brought kind of that. You can hear it in his soloing a little bit. You can hear a couple of those riffs and all that. And then our drummer Dylan is fantastic. He came from like a metal, heavy rock metal background. So when he first started playing with us, it was very quick and very right on time, right? And he would know this, if he listens, he knows that he would agree with me. But like we feel like we had to slow him down a little bit, get him into the groove a little bit. And now it's hilarious because I think the last real gig we played with each other, we were talking about it, that he knows exactly what I'm going to do before it even happens. Like he knows, like I don't have to turn around. I don't have to, he knows something is coming because just we played together for so long. And he's become, like, it's really cool to see him. He's become an amazing drummer over the 5 years, 6 years, even more than that. Jeez, holy moly. A lot of years that we've known each other. So that's been really cool. And then same with Nick, our bass player. So they kind of came from a similar kind of hard rock. Nick is hilarious too, because he'll love that really hard rock metal stuff. But then all of a sudden he'll it's this beautiful ballad that he's singing along to. Nick is like that music aficionado where he loves everything. So, but it's my point to that whole thing. That was a very long way of explaining that, is that we're all different, and it's been really cool to see how that kind of translates into the music, which I think we're based in that rock and blues stuff, but especially with Nick and Vincent, their guitar playing, they'll pick things that are totally something that I would never think of. And same with Dylan playing drums too. He'll do a drum fill that it's I have no idea. And then Justine too, who sings with us. She's what she listens to in her spare time is kind of the slower, folkier stuff. She's a big fan of Lord Huron and the Lumineers and stuff like that. So she's very, she likes the high tones and the soulful stuff, but her harmony chops are out of this world. So, so it's cool. It's cool to see what music comes out of a group like that that's so different from where they began anyway.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I love groups who have such diverse different influences and stuff like that, because the music that comes out is usually very interesting. And just saying that your drummer kind of has a metal background and stuff like that, it's now that I kind of hear that, and I think it's song 2. I'm terrible with song names, but it's the second song on your most recent album. Where it kind of starts off very fast, but then it drops kind of into that groovy breakdown. It's that personally, that's my favorite song on the album. But
thanks, man.
After kind of hearing the different influences from the various band members, it kind of almost makes sense now. You know what I mean?
Oh, cool. That's funny that's very interesting. Yeah, no, it's funny you say that. It's cool. It's listening. Yeah, and I miss that because I've listened to the song so many times that I probably don't even hear it anymore. But yeah, that's very cool. Thanks for that. That's nice.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I guess so. How have you guys been keeping busy over the past, I guess, year?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Apart, unfortunately, we haven't been able to get together, except, Justine and I live together, so we have been doing some stuff. But for, Dylan and Vincent, Vincent has his other band, Vincelin, and they just released a song last week, a week and a half ago or so. But they're doing that. So Vincent is still playing music. I think Vincent works at one of the guitar shops in town as well. So he's still doing everything music related. He's the most dedicated to music, one of those people that just lives, breathes, eats music. And Dylan is a filmmaker, so he has been doing a lot of filmmaking stuff, which is great. I don't know exactly. He's going to laugh at me for saying filmmaking stuff. But yeah, that's what he does. That's what he went to school for. And then Nick, he was planning on moving to Vancouver. I don't think that happened. But he's still gonna, but he's still here. But he got a bird. Yeah, he got a little green bird, so that's keeping him busy. And and yeah, you bought a bird, and yeah, and then he fixes your like aircon units and your refrigerator units if your fridge or your aircon is broken. So just so you know, Nick Goodman, everybody. Yeah, and then us, we're just, I'm doing plants, and Justine's got a day job that she does, and so we're just, trying to make money and stay busy.
Yeah.
As everybody else is doing.
Yeah. That's fair. Have you guys been writing any material or anything like that, or?
Here and there, like we've tried to write a couple songs here. We were one of those people that thought, that when COVID hits, we're gonna be so productive, like we're gonna sit at home and write. But it's been so, and to be honest, like there have been points for us where it's been really depressing and not inspiring whatsoever. Like it's really hard to sit down and not binge Netflix or something, and I think a lot of people can relate with us. It's because you just want to turn your brain off. You're hearing so much negative stuff from everywhere, and everybody's freaking out and everybody's grumpy, and you kind of go, okay, like I don't think the song I'm going to write is going to be very good coming out of this, at least for me. I know people have written some great songs during COVID and stuff like that. It's hard not to write about COVID, and I don't want to write about COVID. Like I don't know, but I don't want to do that. So
yeah, to be fair, I don't want to hear a song about COVID. So
exactly, no one wants to hear about COVID. So no, we've written a couple, but it's been hard. I've written a lot of like quarters of songs. Like I've written like little like just verse and a chorus a lot. So I think once COVID is over and I start getting in the swing of things again, there's going to be like this boom of all these songs that I finish, which will be good. That's my plan, anyways. But yeah, still playing guitar, just trying to stay busy. Trying to stay inspired in some little way.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I can empathize with that entirely. Like, especially, when this first thing kind of all hit, I didn't feel inspired at all. And you see, you look on social media and everybody's like, oh, look at all the stuff I'm getting done, or we have all this time now. And it's like, I was like you. I just wanted to turn my brain off and like watch Netflix and play video games and stuff like that. And
100%.
It was hard to be productive. It was hard to be creative, and it was hard to continue on with this project even.
Yeah, seriously. Like something you love, it's tough to do, which was shocking to me.
Yeah. Especially, you have all this time, so you just assume it's like, oh, I have all this time. Like, why wouldn't I just do all this stuff that I love to do?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so, I guess what does kind of the next year look like for you guys?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. Now that I started this plant business, I think that will take up a little bit more of my time, which is okay, because I was playing gigs. I was playing like 4 or 5 gigs a week before COVID, and to be honest, it was a little much for me. It was a lot. I was burnt out a bit, so I think I'll probably split my time a little bit better, hopefully in the coming months. Sorry, and I'd like to record. Well, Justine and I have to get married too, so that's what's happening for us in the next couple months in December. So there's some exciting things happening, but music-wise, I'd like to record and write at least a song or two in the next little bit here. Like I would really like to really shock my system again back into the swing of things. Like hop into the studio and just pick a day, see and just Justine and I just go in and record something, write something and record something. And I think that would be really special and at least make us feel like we're back in the swing of things a little bit, and then just release it, because who cares?
Yeah.
And it'd be really nice. Yeah. That's my plan anyway. We'll see if it happens exactly that way, but
yeah, for sure. And like we all know, plans can come crashing down like we've all experienced now. So
yeah, exactly.
I guess just because you kind of touched on it a little bit, but how do you kind of manage your time when you are, doing the full-time musician thing?
Yeah, no, it's been before COVID, when that was going on. I mean, what's nice is that gigs are usually in the evening, So, I mean, usually you still have your days to do other things, which is nice. Yeah, no, I think when I was playing all those shows, actually, and that's why I'm saying it was too much, is that I would usually use the day to just gear up for the evening, like whether it was like making a set list or just jam into something or even writing. It gives you some time to do that and, chill out a bit. But now that I've been working a little bit more on the plant stuff and on, I work at a brewery in Calgary, Citizen Brewery as well.
Oh, nice.
It's and it's a fun place to work. But I think it's with this break, that's one of the silver linings, that it showed me that, if I burn myself out with show all the time, I'm not going to have as much desire to write and jam at home, or band rehearsals or whatever. Like, we played so often, our band never rehearsed ever. Like, it'd be rare, super, unless we were playing like this really big show or something that we really needed to get right, like our CD release or whatever. Or we play a big New Year's show at Trolley 5 every second New Year's, and unless it's something like that, like it was too much. So I think before COVID, it was just gearing up for the next show. I think now post COVID, I think I'm going to try and spread out my time a little bit more, diversify, as the business guys say. Yeah.
Nice, yeah, and yeah, it's kind of interesting because as much as we all hate COVID and what it's kind of done, it has given a lot of us a little bit of perspective, I would say.
Totally. Yeah. You got to look at the positives.
Yeah, no, for sure. What is one thing that maybe kind of surprised you going into music and kind of doing that as a profession? Like maybe one thing that you weren't expecting that you would have to like kind of take care of.
For sure. That's a good question. To be honest, I think it shocked me how many people do it. Like how many talented people are actually out there putting their music out there, and how hard it actually is to get to that next level, depending on what you're looking for in your music career. But that was surprising for me. Like, you finally get into the industry, and holy moly, there's a lot of people exactly like me who are trying to, get their head above water and, listen to my music. And truly, it's like, that's why they say it's one of the hardest jobs, because there's so many talented people out there that never see the light of day. And even, in Calgary is a great example of that. There's so many talented people here that deserve to be heard, and just, for whatever reason, don't get the plays they deserve or whatever. But, unfortunately, that's just kind of the way the world works. But yeah, but I'd say that was my most surprising thing, is just like, musicians, good musicians are everywhere. And that's also exciting, but also just a little bit surprising for sure.
Yeah, no, something that actually was surprising to me as well when I started this podcast is the amount of just talent at the local level. Yeah. Like the people who, you listen to their stuff and you're like, this is somebody, this isn't their full-time job or whatever. This is something they do as a hobby, but this is amazing, like.
Right. Totally.
Yeah. Just the amount of, the amount of local talent and good music that comes out of like the local music scene is unreal. And people should go see it more, like I think they would be surprised too at what's out there for them, Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. There's something for everybody.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. 100%.
Yeah. There's a thriving scene for everybody. And, you pay what, $10 for a ticket to a local show, and you're entertained all night. Like,
exactly. I think what people expect is that, you go out and see live music and you're going to go see a Led Zeppelin cover band. Yeah. Which can be fantastic. Don't get me wrong. But I think maybe one time someone's seen they go to a bar, like their neighborhood bar, and there's somebody there playing covers, which again is totally fine. And people are really good at that, and they make money off of that, which is fantastic. But I think people need to go see actual local music where people are writing their own stuff, new stuff they've never heard before. Go discover some new things. And that's great. And if you're feeling covers, go see that guy again or that girl again. That'd be fantastic.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I mean, there's lots of venues in town that, maybe there's a little less now after this whole thing, but
Yeah, seriously.
there is some solid venues in town that you can reliably count on to provide you with quality good music, whether it be Broken City or the Ship and Anchor or whatever it may be.
Totally.
So if you're feeling live local music, just head to one of those venues on a weekend when it's allowed again, and you'll probably discover your new favorite band.
Oh yeah, for sure. I would always invite my friends and family to the Saturday afternoon jams at the Ship.
Yeah,
That's where I'd always, like, if they had never seen me play before, like, because then you get a good band hosting, right? And they're hosting, and then they have an opener as well. So you get, 2 solid bands for sure, because the Ship and Anchor know what they're doing. And then you get a bunch of people who get up there and jam too, which sometimes is funny in a good way. Like sometimes you get a father and daughter up there jamming out. Like there was one time we were there, and it was a dad and his 5-year-old daughter were playing music for everybody, and they were good. Like it wasn't just a gimmicky thing. It was fantastic, And so I always if there were even more stuff like that, or just go out and get, even if you show up and you don't like the band, show up and go have some beers with people in your own city too,
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, totally. And because, you're supporting not only the venue, but you're supporting the band, and you're supporting everything.
Totally.
Have a local beer too. Get something from one of the breweries,
Yeah, exactly. Or even if that's, there again, I don't know how everybody's doing, but there's venues in town for everybody. If you don't want that loud music experience, there are quiet music experiences like Betty Lou's and all these other places where you can go see jazz if you want to,
Yeah. Like I said, there's a thriving scene for pretty much every genre of music that can be found in this city.
Totally.
Yeah. And I mean, if you want to just get out there and you want to get Rocking for Dollars, you get 10 bands in one night, 15 minutes each. Come on.
And what is it, $8? Wasn't it $8 for 10 bands or something like that?
I think
I played it a couple times. I can't remember how much it was to get.
I think it's $3.
Yeah, something. Yeah, even the bands pay to be there. You're supporting the event, but it's so fun. It's so fun.
Yeah, it's and a band goes up, you don't like them, hey, they'll be off in 15 minutes, and then they'll
exactly.
roll up the next
they
one.
got 3 songs and they're done. Exactly.
Yeah. So, but yeah, there's tons of great music in the city, and I definitely implore everybody to go and check it out for sure.
Me too.
Just as a kind of building off of that, is there any kind of local bands that you're really digging right now?
Local bands. Well, I haven't seen a lot of local bands here in a while. But yeah, no, I think to be honest, there's a really great country scene in Calgary. Number one. So if you want that kind of, if you're more pop country is kind of your thing, you got people like Mariah Stokes and Devin Cooper and Aaron Pollock and all these guys that are going out there, guys and girls that are going out there, and Megan Dawson, all these people that are doing that type of music, which is fantastic. And then if you want, Mariel Buckley is a great choice, a Calgarian as well. She's fantastic. I went to her CD release like a couple months before COVID as well, and she was fantastic. Sold out the festival hall, and it was amazing. Actually, that was a lot more than a couple months ago. I think that was a couple of years ago now. My math's not good. Sorry. Sorry, Mariel. But it was an amazing time, and it was great. So check out Mariel Buckley. And you got Boots and the Hoots, too, which are great. I'm going to list off a whole bunch because they deserve it. And if I forget anybody, I apologize to my friends out there. But and then Arson, you got to, in my style of music, what's cool is that I would love to see the blue, the rock part of Calgary come up a little bit. Calgary's got this scene that has when you go to Big Winter Classic and Sled Island and all this stuff, there's great rock bands, but they're kind of almost like shock rock bands where you get the guys playing on the singing on the bar and all that stuff. They're kind of crazy. It's a lot of punk stuff, which again, if that's your deal, there's a fantastic amount of bands in Calgary for that as well. But there's another band in Calgary called the Rooks, led by Jay Bocott. Really great band. We play with them a lot. Fantastic. And then There was a Frontiers as well. Thank you, Justine. Appreciate it. She's doing commentary from the side. And, but yeah, so the Frontiers as well, we worked with a bunch. They're fantastic, good buddies as well. Yeah. And I guess that's all. And if I forgot anybody, I apologize. But there's so many. There's a lot. Just go out there and see them all. That's what you should do.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of great music that comes from the city for sure. So is there any just kind of final things that you would like to throw out there before we close this out, or?
I guess like probably many others have done this, you know, as well. But I'd say there's still ways to support musicians. We've talked about it a bit already tonight, where, you know, even if you don't like live streams or something, maybe just watch one, support them, tip your artist, you know, buy some merch. Thank you, Justine. You know, I should just brought you on. Yeah, she's eating. Like, you know, support. There's other ways to support, and the artists, not just musicians, but artists in this city and all over the world have been hit really hard, as well as you know, everybody's been hit hard. So, you know, you can only do what you can do. But if you know you need some entertainment, there's ways to get it still and ways to support still. So go just check them out. Exactly.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, I'll have all the links in the episode notes of how people can connect with you, all your social media, and how they can find your music and stuff will all be in the episode notes, so that it should be real easy for our listeners to find you if they would like to check you out.
Awesome.
And thank you very much for being on the show.
Cody, it was my absolute pleasure. This was really, really fun. Thanks for having me.
Scared to close my eyes, don't know what I'll see. She's beautiful and wise, she sees right through me. I've got to let it go, and don't bite the hand that feeds. Don't talk about what you don't know. No, 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 you're such a goddamn tease. Well, do you love me the way that I love you? And do you need me every time that I need you? Well, there's a note still rings true, and the wind is always blowing and the sky is always blue. Swallowing me whole. There's a picture on the wall here. It isn't there no more. I looked into her eyes, the feeling slip away. I think I'm losing my mind. Yeah, 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 a little more every day. Yeah. Well, do you love me the way that I love you? And do you need me every time that I need you? There's a note still rings true, that the wind is always blowing and the sky is always blue. I love you. And do you need me every time that I need you? Yeah. There's an old silvery tone that the wind is always blowing and the sky is always blue. That the wind is always blowing and the sky is always blue.
If you like this episode of Groove Talk, why not leave a review? You can find us on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, or pretty much anywhere that you listen to podcasts. Help us break through those evil algorithms and reach the most amount of glorious listeners that we possibly can. For up-to-date information on the show, you can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And you can find us at Froggy Style Productions. For more ways to support the show, visit fsproductions.ca.